The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's doing well out there. So, the weather's been kind of warm here, and everything's going pretty well. Let's see what else happened. Not much. I mean, not much really happens here, during the winter time. I did hear about the story about a guy from Maine, 19-year-old person from Maine had gone down to Times Square on New Year's Eve party and attacked 3 police officers down there using a damn machete. So obviously that was all over the newspaper up here in Maine. But, that's an awful far place to go commit crimes, and I don't know. It's weird. Something like that would happen. So, anyway, another weird thing that's happened, another weird thing that's going on is Trump is out there and he's getting mad, okay? He's getting mad at the Republican Party. And because the Republicans are kind of going around saying that Trump doesn't have a chance really to win if he runs. I mean, well, of course he's going to run, but when he runs, he's not going to make it, okay? They got their eyes set on DeSantis, okay? And Trump doesn't want that, okay? He wants the party to stick with him, okay? And so he's said, well, if the party doesn't nominate me, then I'm going to run third party. Okay, and essentially that'll divide the vote. It'll take half the vote, or at least a lot of it, away from the Republicans. And, they'll basically lose against whoever the Democrats put up there, So this is a big story. I mean, it's not really being talked about a whole lot right now, but it's a big thing for Republicans anyway. I mean, they ought to be sweating bullets right now, because the monster they created now is the monster that's going to do them in. Okay? They created this Frankenstein monster here that essentially doesn't follow orders. He doesn't go away quietly. And if he can't have what he wants, he destroys it so nobody else can have it. And I think that's his strategy here. Okay? It's just like January 6th, when he knew he had lost the election and he wasn't going to be be able to come back for a second term, and he couldn't seem to find a way to slow down or stop the certification. He sends all of his cronies, his base supporters, into the Capitol to go burn down the Capitol, go kill the people. That's his mentality. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. Okay? So here's an article here from the Daily Kos, and it's entitled, Donald Trump Threatens to Run Third Party If He Isn't the Republican Party's Nominee. Raw Story delivers news that Donald Trump is threatening the Republican Party if he isn't their nominee for president. He is blaming the Republican Party, but the only reason he would not be the nominee is if he didn't have the support from voters in the Republican Party. He discards any polls that aren't favorable to him. But the Republican Party would never have the courage or the integrity to move past him if he had strong support from Republican voters. Former President Donald Trump on Wednesday promoted an editorial suggesting that he run as a third-party candidate if the Republican Party does not make him its 2024 presidential nominee. On his Truth Social website, Trump posted a link to an editorial from MAGA publication American Greatness, in which author Dan Gillertner compared Trump to the late President Teddy Roosevelt, whose unsuccessful third-party bid in 1912 handed the White House to Democrat Woodrow Wilson. Gillertner concedes that Trump running as a third-party candidate in 2024 would likely also hand Democrats the White House, but he suggests it would be worth it to teach the Republican Party a lesson about defying its base. If their base supporters back him, then he would win the nomination. The Republican Party wouldn't stop Trump from winning the nomination if he had the votes and the support from their base. The Republican Party leaders finally are beginning to understand that even if Trump wins the nomination and has more Republican votes supporting him than support other Republicans, he can't win nationally, whether as the leader of the party, even if he's not on the ballot, or as the Republican Party's nominee for president. Finally, appreciating how fortunate he was to skate into the White House via the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote in 2016. While he was fortunate enough to win via the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote, he lost the House of Representatives as the leader of the party in 2018, lost re-election and the Senate in 2020, and the House of Representatives remained in the hands of the Democrat Party. And he was the leader of the party in 2022 when, against history, the Democrat Party gained a seat in the Senate and defied history and inflation and Biden's approval rating in keeping the Republican Party's majority in the House of Representatives to only 5 seats. And that majority only occurring due to their gerrymanderings. As was reported here elsewhere based upon civic polling, he lost ground among Republican Party male voters, probably due to their recognition that he's a loser. Nevertheless, the narcissist can never fail. He can only be failed by others. Who knows if DeSatan can keep his current lead, or if Trump can damage him with insults. Pointing out that DeSatan is his mini-me, and DeSatan being afraid to lose the hardcore Trumpers whom he would need in the general election, making him reticent to return fire. Therefore, it's far from certain that Trump won't win the nomination in the end. Nevertheless, if he does, nobody would ever go broke banking on the pettiness and vindictiveness and self-centered nature of the ultimate narcissist. Therefore, if he's not the nominee, then it's far from certain that he wouldn't follow through on this threat. Now, if he did that, many of the money people who bankrolled the Republican Party would back to Satan or another choice. However, the narcissist has proven his ability to grift and take every last dime from the base voters of the Republican Party. So, he would be in a position to return fire. They can't win without the hardcore Trumpers, but they belong to Trump and aren't likely to show up in force for any other nominee. So, they only show up if Trump is the nominee. They do get more votes if the narcissist is the nominee, but there are far more votes against them if he is the nominee. This problem is because the ends justify the means, and therefore they would not stand up to him because of the votes that only he could deliver. In other words, they earned this debacle. So yeah, basically what this article is saying is that no matter which way he goes, I mean, DeSantis is also someone who's stubborn, okay? He's not going to go down without a fight either. So if it comes down to DeSantis and Trump, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be the battle royale that's going to destroy the party, okay? It really is. And I can't see how the Republican Party could ever recover after that, because this is what might happen. I mean, you get Trump in there fighting his opponent for the nomination for president, splits the base, okay, and what's left of the party that didn't support Trump splinters off into different segments, creating other alternate, whatever you want to call it, teabaggers or MAGAs or some other fucking faction of the Republican Party. That further divides the Republican Party. So you're looking at, a house divided actually coming down in pieces at the only part of what might be left, the larger portion, will be the Trumpsters. Might end up being the larger portion of the Republican Party, because all the rest of the party will have been splintered off into different other, party halves, I guess. I don't know what, like they would just follow their own thing. And that's going to cost them a lot, in years to come, because they'll have to try to reunify what they once had, which will be very difficult, because when you have a certain mentality like Trump, okay, who has who has followers that are so extremist in their thinking, how do you think these people are ever going to come back into the fold if you don't talk the talk and walk the walk that Trump does, okay? And we know that there's a lot of Republicans out there, people like the Lincoln Project and stuff, who are sick and tired of the Republicans following these lunatics, okay? And they want to go back to the core values that made their party. So, with that in mind, is that party ever going to come back together again? I don't know. Somebody had said once that this country suffers from the party system that we have in place in our government. Okay, I can't remember where I heard that. But they said that because we have two-party system, it's almost like everybody's forced to be in one or the other. And when you have a two-party system, it's like a football game. Okay, they are destined to butt heads every time you turn around, and only one side can win, and that creates such a split in the government. It ends up where we are today, okay, where you're either on one side of the wall or the other, okay, and never the two shall meet. And when you have everything else set up in the government to be majority rules, okay, then what happens is the party that's the minority will always find ways to slow down the party in power, okay? And so what happens is nothing ever gets done, okay? Or very little. I'm not going to say nothing, but very little will ever get done, okay? And some people say, well, the only way to solve that problem is just everyone leave all the parties, okay? Just get rid of the party system, okay? I say, yeah, but there's also, another way, and that's for people to put aside their friggin' partisanship, okay? And if you're going to belong to one of these parties, you need to go back to the beginning, to what your parties were like, okay? The Republicans weren't always like this, the way they are today. They were different years ago. What made them this way is the introduction of money into the political system, where they're getting tons of money, and they love getting that money, okay? And the greed is what's corrupted the system, okay? And if we can stop that, okay, eventually the parties will settle back on to where they were originally founded on, to what they began with, okay? But to simply ask people to just stop voting Republican or Democrat and just vote your conscience, okay, that would be a perfect world, okay? But after all these years of people being on one side of the wall or the other, that's not going to be so easy to accomplish. There's always going to be a two-party system, and you saw what happens when there's people outside the system that try to get involved in politics, like Bernie Sanders. They're just shoved to the side because of, one side or the other saying, look, we don't need you. It's, we have our own choice, okay? And so people are only, at the end of the day, are left voting either the Democrat side or the Republican side. There's not going to be a third side, okay? And if the Democrat and the Republican are not of the same mindset as the people who all of a sudden had stepped out of the two-party system, who are they going to be left to vote for if they haven't got one of their own up there running. I mean, there's not going to be a third person in a debate to win an election. I think that's only happened once in my lifetime, and that's when they had Ross Perot in there. Okay, but as far as trying to do that again, I mean, it's not impossible, but it would be very difficult because back then the country wasn't as split as it is today. Okay, when you had Ross Perot, and it's very, very split today. I mean, it's almost dangerous to the point where you got people out there willing to go and attack political institutions here to get their way. Okay, that's really a dangerous place we're at right now. So I don't think anyone's ever going to be convinced that everybody should just cut themselves off from partisan politics. Okay, just say no more Democrats, no more Republicans. Okay, people are just going to vote who they are, and what they believe in. Like I said, that's a perfect world. It would be like that today. If we were honest about how we do a democracy, that's the way it should be. Really, there shouldn't be a party system that everyone has to follow. I mean, it's like a club or something like that. If you don't want to be in the club, you shouldn't be discriminated against because you don't join either side. Okay, you shouldn't be discriminated, and that's what really is going on in politics. Okay, if you're an independent, they look down on that. They don't like independents, either party, because independents steal votes from them and cause damage. Okay, but if everybody was an independent, okay, and they just didn't belong to any party at all, and then when they vote, they just vote, how they feel, okay, then that's a different thing. That would mean the politicians would actually have to do better at their arguments, okay, than just depending on, okay, this county's going to get my way, and this county's going to have my back, or I'm going to get money from this group. They're not really talking to you, but they're basically grifting the people in the background who are going to be shoveling money to you, okay, and how you do in front of the camera is more important than what you say. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what, the way things are kind of being discussed right now. And for the Republican Party, they're being confronted with their own arrogance and their own lack of intelligence with dealing with governing. I mean, these people can't govern, okay? But now after decades of them not treating this country right and actually getting worse as they go on and becoming more militant in their thinking, now they dug themselves a hole they can't seem to get out of now, and trying to get out of this hole could cost them the entire party. And in order to keep Trump out of the game and still try to win a presidential election, the Republicans are going to have to cheat, not just with the gerrymandering and stuff. They're going to actually have to have internal cheating to keep Trump out. Okay, and that's going to have to start from day one. As soon as the race begins, which means they're going to have to be in the background constantly tripping up him, standing in the way of him getting any ground at all, in order for people to just say, well, he's not a viable option, okay, and have DeSantis run against somebody else, okay. But you know how Trump is. He's going to call it cheating, and he might be right that time. It might be cheating, but it won't be from the Democrats. It'll be from Republicans trying to keep him out, okay? And as he goes after the Republicans and with his base behind him, that could cause some different sorts of, endings or to whatever the hell happens to that party. I mean, it could it could create more division. It could create more internal strife. It could, it wouldn't be good. Okay, it wouldn't be good if his base has to go after the base of the GOP as a whole. Okay, because they feel like it's owed to them. Okay, because they were cheated out of a second term. It's owed to them that Trump should be the president again, and if it's taken away from them a second time, if you think they were pissed off before on January 6th, you ain't seen nothing yet, okay? Because these people will come back, at it again, probably on a broader scale than before, So I just think this is, for the Democrats, this is like sit back, grab your popcorn, and just watch, because history's going to be made here this year, right up until the presidential election, and it's all going to be a lot on the Republican side on how they're going to survive this presidential campaign going forward. And it's really going to be interesting to see just what happens to the Republican Party. It could spell the end for a lot of things the Republicans have, I think, because no one's going to know which side to stay on as they try to do the same old shit they've been doing all these years. When I'm talking about, the conservative news outlets like Fox News and all them, they're going to be like, which way are we supposed to go? 1 minute they're going to be crucifying a guy, and the next minute they're going to be hailing him as the God. It's just, they're not going to be consistent. They can't be consistent because their hearts are going to be loyal to one side or the other. So you're going to see a lot of shaking going on in that. What they say? There's going to be a lot going on, and the legacy of Trump is going to stick with them for a long, long time to come. I can tell you that right now. Trump has done a lot of damage politically to the Republican Party more than anything else, because he's created a monster. They created Trump a monster, and Trump himself has created a monster in the base of the Republican Party. That's not going to go away anytime soon. They're always going to be there. Okay, they're always going to be there, and that's the way it stands with them. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
If the Republican Senate candidates get scared that Trump is dragging them down,
one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water,
will they continue to cling to him if he's potentially plummeting to the bottom of the ocean?
I will go down with this ship.
surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
What is your understanding of why Republicans are doing this?
I think it's that same genetic impulse that pulls the lemmings over the cliff, one after the other.
I know I left too much mess and destruction to come back again.
Are you proud of your support for President Trump?
But if I didn't say it,
Senator, the question was, are you proud of your support for President Trump?
I'm proud to be fighting for Arizona every single day.
Is that a yes or a no?
I promise I'm not trying to make your life harder.
11 hours to vote. Let's use plain English and call it what it is. Voter suppression.
I will go down with this ship.
And we get conspiracy theories and we get lies. Where is the line? When are you guys going to say enough?
You have to take the children away. Very fine people.
This Stormy Daniels deal.
That call was perfect.
A bunch of suckers.
you still stand there silent.
Senator McConnell, was what the president did last night the right thing to do? You don't have any comment on what happened at the White House last night? Was it an abuse of power?
Yes, I did vote to repeal the ACA.
If you're a young African American, you can go anywhere in this state. You just need to be conservative, not liberal.
It's certainly going to be very difficult. I'm very concerned.
You need to help me.
Strawberry, blueberry, watermelon. New triple treat from Bubble Tape. 6 feet of gum, 6 feet of fun. New sour crystals. Better tasting Bubble Tape sours. 6 feet of gum, 6 feet.
Glenn? That's right. I'm on a hippo eating airheads. I'd like a hippo.
Airheads have more fun.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. that Zelensky was here just, a week ago, I guess, and he gave a speech on the House floor to everybody in the room about, trying to solidify that, the help keeps coming from the United States, I guess. Because I think what's happened is he's been in communication with somebody, either the president or somebody representing the president, and he's got his feelers out to see where the American people are standing right now as far as continuing to afford Ukraine the means to continue his fight against Russia. Okay. Now, he may know about the Republicans, bitching now about the fact that, we're spending all kinds of money to defending Ukraine, and it's not helping us any. Basically bitching, about, we're spending big money when, whenever they ever had something going on internationally, they always spent above and beyond what the rest of us thought was even possible. But the thing that keeps getting missed in these arguments is that anytime America wants something, they always seem to find the money to do it. Okay, so it's really a bullshit argument, but it seems to gather a lot of momentum with American voters because, they figure that since everybody's such a tightwad in this country with their tax money, okay, they figure that, you're spending something, and I'm busting my ass to give you money for this. Hey, people don't even care. When it's one of your guys out there doing something internationally, you don't say a peep about it. A 20-year war in Afghanistan, and not one fucking word was uttered by the right about putting a stop to it, okay? So, don't give me that shit. Whenever America needs something, it has the money to find it, okay? So, anyway, knowing that, I think Zelensky felt he needed to come here and basically remind people why it's important to help them out, okay? And during his speech, he mentioned the Battle of Saratoga, which happened, centuries back. There's an article here written about why he mentioned that. It's a very long article, I need to say. It's at least a 15-minute read. And, if you want to read it, it's in the Daily Kos, written by Mark Sumner, and it's entitled Ukraine Extra, Why Did President Zelensky Talk About the Battle of Saratoga? So if you, and this was published today, so it'll be there if you look, okay? And so what I can do is I'll put that as a tweet on my page for those of you that are on my friend list. And I'll see if I can't, if you don't want to try to look for it the hard way, which is using the search engine. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to put that up on my Twitter page. But I think it's important that everybody read it because it explains why Zelensky brought that up to remind us, of how important it was for us back then to win, a point in the war for our independence, okay? And that's what Zelensky is facing right now. He's facing a similar problem where, he seems to be feeling that he's kind of coming to the end of being able to push Russia out, okay? But if we don't keep giving him the resources that he needs to do it, it's not going to happen, okay? Just like we depended on France to help us out in the war for independence against Great Britain, okay? So we had to, we needed their help, and they were there all the way, okay, to help us out, the French. So the United States, claiming to be a powerhouse for when it comes militarily speaking, we also we're a powerhouse in materials, military materials, making bombs, tanks, planes, all kinds of crap. I mean, you never go broke if you're tied into the military in this country, okay? So what he's saying is that, you know, we are fighting the same battle you fought so long ago at the beginning of your country. And Ukraine is really a young, you know, them splitting away from the Soviet Union didn't happen all that long ago, okay? It was pretty recent, and they're still a young country, basically, and now he's trying to keep it, okay? The Russians don't want him to have it, but he's trying to keep it. And because he's been running it like a democracy, he's trying to remind us that, hey, we're a democracy, and we're trying to build a barrier between, you know, the autocratic dictatorship that's over there in Russia and the rest of the free world. And it's important that you put a presence here to remind them that this is not your land anymore, okay? You can't come over here, all right? We splintered away from you, and that's that. You know, you had your chance. And so, you know, these people who in a long, you know, in a real way, I guess they kind of look like Americans, you know, if you want to you think about it. And I think initially that's what got a lot of people in this country motivated to want to help them out. Okay, if it was happening in a country like Vietnam or something like that, I'm not so sure, you know, Americans would have been all, you know, up in arms over what was happening there, okay? I know that's a hateful thing to say, but I'm just being a realist, okay? I think that's the mentality we are at right now in this country. And people only can identify with people who look like them, okay? That's the reason why we still have racism and bigotry in this country. Because we don't have the same compassion for other people who look different, okay? And so it was easy to get us to help defend Ukraine when we saw these people on TV being displaced from their homes and watching their cities get shattered by rockets and everything. But the one thing that they're not showing, which a lot of people say they should, if there's any way to keep support coming in to Ukraine by our country, they're going to have to show us the blood and guts of what's happening over there, okay? They feel like that's what they have to do, okay? They got to show, you know, the dead babies and all that stuff, you know, to remind Americans that this isn't just some, you know, football game that's going on over there and empty cities being bombed, okay? There's real people under that rubble. There's people huddling underground, okay, in subways and stuff like that. And a lot of spots have electricity for maybe a few hours a day, and it's wintertime, and they're cold as hell, okay? And they're just, you know, they don't see any end in sight, but they're not leaving their land. They feel that's their home. They're going to stay there no matter what happens. A lot of these people are showing a lot of courage, which could also make Americans think that the situation there isn't bad, okay? Well, I beg to differ, because the thing about Americans is we are spoiled rotten. And the thing is if that was happening in this country, there would be such rage and madness over here that other countries would look at us like we turned into animals, vicious animals, because somebody took away our creature comforts. In Ukraine, they don't really have that over there. I mean, they have some basics, okay, but they're not materialistic people. They don't clutter their houses with stuff, okay, just like around here, around me. Okay, you're not going to see a lot of that in Ukraine or in a lot of countries over there. Because their values are not on what they buy or what they have in possession. It's in themselves and their pride and in their country. Okay, so they're being strong mentally. They're standing up for themselves, and we're looking at it as, oh, these people aren't suffering. Okay, well, yes, they are suffering. You think they really want to be driven from their homes, you know, and watching their places of residence being shattered and busted up in pieces, and, you know, where they grew up in? No, of course not. They don't want that. And it does hurt. Okay, it does hurt when you watch something like that happen. So we need to understand that these people suffer just like everybody does when war is going on. Okay, they're not people that just simply don't care, about what's happening to them. And so a lot of people are calling for the press to get in the gritty part of it. I mean, that's kind of what they did during the Vietnam War when they tried to stop it. When they wanted the Americans to get behind the fact that we weren't doing anything constructive in Vietnam and we were just prolonging a war that had no end. Okay, the media started showing some pretty scary images of what was going on over there, and that more than anything is, I think, what created the revolution in this country to stop what was going on over there. And if it hadn't been for the media, okay, that probably would not have happened, because that was the first time that in American history where a war was actually televised as it was happening. Okay, and that made a big difference in American attitude, and it definitely changed our perception of government. Okay, when we saw what was happening on the TV and then what the president was saying, okay, didn't seem to correlate with each other. Okay, somebody was lying, right? Well, you can't lie about what you're seeing, so they had to look at the president, and attitudes against Nixon at the time were getting pretty nasty at that when he became president. Okay, so like I said, that changed the whole nature of how Americans perceive the war. So we need to do that again. Okay, in Ukraine, we need to see more of the carnage, I guess, as it were, and there's many ways they can do that, and they need to see not the results after a battle. They need to see the battle as it's happening. Okay, I think that's really what they need, because I think the anger that sparked the initial support of Ukraine by this country when the fighting started without warning, when everybody was saying, "Oh, Putin's not going to attack. He's never going to go that far," and then all of a sudden, one morning, we wake up to the fact that he just went and headed and did it, and nobody could believe it. Okay. The anger that this country felt was enough to get the support they needed to start helping out Ukraine. Okay, but now that this has gone on for almost a year. Okay, it started last February, I believe, but it's been almost a year, and and since then, now we got people on the right who are trying to say it's expensive, it's too expensive, we can't fund this anymore, we can't do it. Okay, and yet, they seem to find money for whenever they're in power doing things, and it doesn't seem to matter. Okay, in fact, they try to take money away from government whenever they're in power by giving tax breaks to the wealthy who could, really contribute a lot of money to, what I'm saying? So if they're really so concerned about goddamn money, okay, then why the hell aren't they for tax increases instead of tax cuts? I mean, there's no way you can be bitching about, oh, it's costing this country money if you're thinking that keeping the money out of the government is the way to go. I mean, you want them to pay their bills, right? So that's the solution is the opposite of what they're telling you. They need to increase taxes, not reduce them. But like I said, that's a debate. Republicans are never consistent, okay? It's only who's in power at the time is what they're going to say. And that's why they're against more help in Ukraine. And I'll tell you, for a little side note, as I was watching the speech on the House floor, the camera would pan to the members as they were applauding and all that stuff. There was a couple of shots of Lauren Boebert with a few people around her who would not stand up and applaud. Okay, they just sat there as the speech was going on. That told me that the people in the Republican Party, the Trumplicans, okay, are the ones bitching about this expenditure to Ukraine, and not the other Republicans. Okay, they were that's the extreme arm of the GOP are the ones making this bullshit argument about money. Okay, as we, if you've been following the news, you would know that already. Okay, it's obvious. So it's not a genuine concern, I think, of the general Republican Party. Okay, but it's a it's an argument that can draw blood being made by the extreme part of the Republican Party, who's interested in trying to get one of their own back in power, okay, back in the White House. And anything that makes Biden look bad is a good thing for them, okay. Even though the majority of Americans are still for supporting Ukraine, okay, the ones that are the minority are the ones that are going to keep making the argument that it's not in our best interest, okay? But they can't tell you why. Because when you point out to them that, hey, these people are fighting for their democracy, just as we would be if we were being attacked, okay? When you make that argument to them, they can't rebut that with anything but, oh, well, it's expensive. Who gives a fuck? Do you think if our country was being attacked that we would think about, oh, we're wasting too much money on our weapons and stuff like that to defend ourselves against it? Bullshit. They would find the goddamn money if they had to go and rob it. Okay? Money would not be an object when it came to defending ourselves from them. And so why should it be no object, for us to help out another country in that boat? Okay? I mean, isn't the free world all supposed to be together here on defending ourselves? I mean, it isn't just one person standing alone, okay? We're a democracy, they're a democracy, okay? We're supposed to help each other out in situations like this. I mean, we would be screaming for other countries to help us out if we were under attack, right? I mean, why the hell do you think we're still in NATO? I mean, if we didn't want that, we wouldn't be in NATO. We wouldn't need their help. But, we're all part of it. So, even though Ukraine isn't NATO officially, they're still a democracy, and they could be NATO eventually if we help them out. So, like I said, it's the Republican argument against helping them makes no fucking sense. If they truly are defenders of freedom and, democracy, like they want us to be, which we know is a lie because a lot of them don't even give a shit about democracy. They don't like it. They're trying to get rid of the vote, okay? They're trying to take away people's rights. And, it's an ongoing thing with them. They tell you one thing, they do another. They tell you another thing, and they do the opposite. They just don't, they're not consistent. Okay, you can't depend on them for anything. If it's a Republican in power, they'll do what they want. When it's a Democrat in power, they'll oppose everything they want. Okay, it's ridiculous. And like I said, it brings us back to the statement I made before about getting rid of the party system in this country, because it's just a one against one kind of thing, and it never ends because nobody wants to give an inch to the other side, which destroys the ability to compromise. Okay, and it looks like it could work on paper, but as we can see over time, it doesn't. Especially when you introduce money into that power play. Okay, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So I will talk to you again later. And please keep yourself informed about local COVID-19 news. Okay, and keep your ears open about, just about anything that could change your life. I mean, it's important. The weather is pretty bad. I mean, we had that big storm out there, in Buffalo and everything, and a lot of people died. So stay alert for things like that. Just don't take for granted that because it's just snow, it's something you can manage. I mean, you get enough snow on the ground, and it's not going to be easy for any vehicle or anybody to go through it. So, just be careful out there. So treat each other nice, and I will talk to you later.